Hello, everyone. This is Airplane 312 with Grant Travels.
Hi, we were doing another video discussing the differences between transporting and doing DoorDash since I'm switching from one to the other. During transporting, they're the same and different. Transporting, I can't count off the mileage for taxes because it's not my vehicle. I can do the fuel receipts,
Sorry
the
about
cost of
people.
fuel, because it is my fuel going into it. They pay me and then I pay the fuel. Um, with door dashing, I'm going to be able to do, I think it's, when I looked into it, it's about half of everything, half the fuel, half the mileage. And But if I plan on doing it the full time, I still by the end of the year I'll be able to write the majority of it off because of the amount of time I did door dashing. But you're supposed to save between 25% and 40% of your income door dashing in case the offhand chance that you can't write everything off. But knowing me from the last 2 years of being able of writing the transporting off on taxes, I think I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to do it with mileage. Mileage is going to be the difference because now I'm using my own personal vehicle, so now I can write off the mileage on it.
That includes oil changes and everything else.
Yeah, but I did want to get back on here and discuss on the transporting side of it. If you go take the job transporting, and don't get me wrong, it's a very good job. I like doing it. If they keep you busy, it's a lot of amount of money to make for miles ain't bad. But you take pictures on both ends. You take pictures of the unit, you drive it from A to B, and you take pictures again to cover your butt on both sides. And I learned that expensive thing because I had the deer strike where the guy before I was picking it up from hit a deer with the rental truck that I was driving back the night before they were going to turn it in because they'd already planned to turn it in. And they changed positions on us, locations to pick it up last second. And when I picked it up, it was they had nosedived the front end of the truck where they hit the deer into a bush in the hopes that I wouldn't see it. Then when I showed up, they had it rigged so that his wife or whoever that was there would move a trailer or whatever, so I'd have to get in the truck and leave and go. You know, they're trying to blame it on me. I went down the hill like that because I was in a rush, and then I went down the gas station to fill up, and that's when I noticed the front end damage from the deer strike. Now, what saved me was I texted the guy back, and where they parked it at, well, that was a different guy. That was like his employee or somebody that took it to his house to meet us halfway to be able to pick it up from his house and leave. And the smaller employee at the house and their company wanted to blame it on us, the transport company, try to get it off of us for insurance. But the guy who actually hit the deer maybe didn't know the plan or who knows what, but he stood back on text and he admitted to it that he's the one who hit the deer the night before. And that's what saved me from paying $5,000 worth of damages. So it's very important if you do the transporting to take pictures of both ends to cover your butt. Now the same thing happens with DoorDash. You don't have to take pictures when you pick the food up because the restaurant knows that you pick the food up, but you should always take the picture when you drop it off, unless you hand it right to the customer, because then they can't really say you did or didn't hand it. Because there's a button that you push on the DoorDash app that says you hand it off to customers, so they can't claim that you never gave them the food.
And
But
all,
it's the same covering your butt.
and also due to privacy and stuff, he won't show you the app feature and stuff recording the screen for the customer and stuff.
Yeah.
So he's gonna not show you that
But I'm gonna try to
piece.
make the future video when I start door dashing again on Monday here. And that's for the first time I'm starting. I say again because we rode around with a friend of ours here in Mouse City to check it out. What all's involved with doing it on the app on his stuff and not ours, just so I could see what to do before I screwed up on my end going out there because it's a new thing. But on Monday, I'm going to start it for myself, and I will show you as much detail on it as I can on the next videos. After I do a few trips and kind of get used to the way things work, then I'll show people do a DoorDash video on the ins and outs of how to do the app. I have my two phones, and so I'll record it with one phone and what I'm doing on the other phone for a video for the people who want to begin in DoorDash. The reason I'm going to DoorDash, there's a couple reasons. The main one being I don't transporting. I got kind of spoiled and expediting before that on being my own boss, and so now it's hard to go back to being an employee for somebody. But the light bulb went off in my head that DoorDash is the same way as transporting, where I'm still self-employed. I'm still my own independent contractor, still my own boss. I can decide when I do and don't want to DoorDash. Don't have anybody yelling at you. You got to do this. You got to do that. And I don't know for sure if I can ever go back to a regular job like that after I went and got spoiled. But anyway, DoorDash offers me almost the same thing as transporting. And then my buddy Travis here in town said he makes about 1,000 a month, give or take, but he has another job in town where he works for PTI when I used to work with him there. So he uses PTI mainly, but then DoorDash is on the side. But even DoorDashing on the side, doing 20 hours a week or so, he's making $1,000 a month. And so I figure an 8 hour day from doing the math and doing what he said, from what he said, and then what other videos I've been watching on YouTube have said, an 8 hour day roughly is 120 bucks. Will cover your own gas and get about $100 worth of profit off of DoorDash a day, and that's all the more I have to make anyway. So I'm planning on going to DoorDash and doing that 6 or 7 days a week, and if I can make at least 100, and obviously if that's only a couple hours in, like 6 hours in the day, I can keep on going if I have the time and the energy to do it, and you can make up to like $200 a day when it's busy. And Rapid City is a different market, so I don't know yet, but I'm just going off of what I've seen in Miles City and then what I've seen on YouTube videos. Rapid City itself might be busy, might be slow, has its own times. Each DoorDashing market is different. But Rapid City is big enough. They have 3 or 4 different spots where they have fast food, and they have like the Mount Rushmore Crossing, which is a bunch of stores lined up that have restaurants, brick and mortar restaurants in them, like Qdoba's and stuff that do deliver out. And so I think I should be busy on it. But I will stay tuned. I'll make a video next week using the one phone and trying to show you what to do on DoorDash and kind of my profit margin on that one and how likely that is to survive doing DoorDash. But from what I've seen from the YouTube videos, it makes it look like anyway that I can make a good income of 1,000 to 2,000. Well, 1,000, anywhere from 1,000 a week, to it's a bare minimum 1,000 a month. So either 1,000 a month or about $4,000 in a month, depending on how much I want to hustle.
And plus, when he had showed us the previous day, and after he takes taxes off, he made about $10 for about an hour.
Yeah, so it was a little slow the other day when we were doing it though too. But your average is probably about $25 an hour. But then you take taxes out, yeah, you'd be somewhere in the $10-15 an hour range if you're saving half of it like you should be.
Always, if you do as independent contractor or business owner, and you're taking money out, make sure you save about 25 to 40%, or maybe a little bit more, to cover your butt from the IRS. You don't want to piss them off.
Because the other thing you got to realize is your miles are going to slowly add up too. Because his miles last night was 15 miles, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that. So he in that hour time frame, he did 15 or 20 miles. So you can add that up real quick in your head and see that 20 miles an hour, 20 miles every hour of your shift adds up. And that will be wear and tear on your car, brake pads and rotors, your tire tread eventually at the bare minimum. And then your regular maintenance stuff like oil and transmission fluid and stuff like that is all on you. Because it's your car. That's the difference between that and transporting. At least with transporting, all of that was paid by their truck. I didn't have to do none of the maintenance. So there's different things I'm going to have to get used to. But yeah, you got to save back to be able to afford that maintenance cost. Because it's coming whether you want it to do it or not, obviously, with the amount of miles you're adding on a car. But I have the 3 different cars that to choose from so far. And I might buy a smaller car for my mom and then have the 2 Expeditions and the Geo to rotate around. If I decide to get an apartment in a regular life there in Rapid City, you'd probably end up with 2, if not 3 cars in the parking lot to rotate around for DoorDash, and that will minimize my cost because then you're not using one car and adding up all the miles that fast. You can split all that between all 3.
And also, if he has like 2 or 3 vehicles, he can have one vehicle down and still continue on for his missus.
That's the added benefit, is because I'm gonna have to be prepared for if the Geo needs to go in the shop or something. I'm gonna have to go get another vehicle. At least I have a couple. It's an hour south of Rapid City. I'll have to make my way down there and come back. But eventually, the plan A would be to get through the summer and maybe go back to going to working with Worldwide in the wintertime when they get busy again, because they pay you good money when they're busy. Go store the cars at my mom's house and go back to Worldwide. Plan B would be get an apartment and stay in Rapid City, depending on how well DoorDash is doing. If DoorDash pays better than Worldwide and I can stay right there in Rapid City, I'd rather do that.
Or Miles City or something like that.
Yeah. I would come up here, but I'm not all too sure the market would support being able to rent a house and then my income and the maintenance of the vehicles on DoorDash. Because DoorDash here is just starting. And then, it'd have to take off a lot, and there's not enough. There's 10,000. How many people here?
About 10,000.
Something like that. And Rapid City has 300,000. So obviously way more customer base, way more restaurants. I would like to be able to come back here and do DoorDash, but I just question if it'd be busy enough to sustain an income to stay here with.
And he doesn't know what Rapid City market is right now.
And yeah, Rapid City could be worse, could be 10 times better. Who knows until I get out there and do it. I do know I'll probably have to drive more than Travis does here. Because here you only have, 4-mile range all the way around town, give or take at the max. Rapid City is all spread out. I could go 10 miles in one direction, 10 miles in the other. So there's a good chance that I'm going to be hitting more miles of the deal. But more miles might lead to more pay, may not. I just have to see how DoorDash goes. But that's the beauty of being an independent contractor. I can decide which trip I want to take or not.
Plus, he cannot refuse all.
Yeah, the acceptance rate on DoorDash is about 80%. So as long as you take 80% minimum of the trips that they try to send you, you can decline, kind of every other third one or so and get away with it. If you get something that's $3 for 10 miles, it doesn't make sense to do it really, unless that end of that 10 miles puts you in a better spot. If that puts you right back at the Rushmore Crossing, which has a bunch of restaurants to dash back out of, then it would be worth your time to do it, because then it's a one-way trip before you get paid again to go out again. If it puts you 10 miles out in north of Rapid in the middle of nowhere, it's probably not worth your time, because now that 10 miles just turned into 20 miles for $3. So I just have to learn, I know the gist of it. I just have to learn the ins and outs of where in Rapid City I should go and not go in terms of being able to come back, and if it's worth my time and money, because like I say, that $3 could turn into a 20-mile round trip. And by the time you do that, you're pretty much donating your time if you take something like that. Versus if you take something that's that pays $15 and it goes 3 miles, obviously I'm way more worth my time. If something like that were to come up, because then you're getting tips on top of that.
And later on, once he gets better and stuff, he might post his DoorDash referral below.
Yeah, once I get everything set up and I know how to do that, we'll put it on YouTube for you guys if anybody else wants to go into door dashing. But I think I've seen from all the YouTube videos, I think it's worth it to go as an independent contractor, as long as your market is big enough, as long as you're in a city that's big enough to support it.
And here, you expected, without the promo codes, about $2.25, what he said.
Yeah, well, he's saying some nights was $5 if they have the peak pay, because that's the other thing DoorDash does. They offer different times they want dashers out there more, which is usually at at the dinner and the lunch rush, to cover everybody trying to order food at that time. So they offer peak pay, and you can get like a minimum of like $5 at a time. But when it's slow, he was only getting $2.25 minimum pay off of his trips yesterday. Was it's almost like a waiter. They only get paid to $2 or $3 an hour, and then they live on tips. So if you take anything else from this video, if you do door dashing, definitely tip your dashers, because they depend on that for the maintenance.
And some dashers will get mad at you if you don't tip, but some dashers probably saying, okay, they can understand the reason why.
Well, let's just put it this way, with us all being able to do 80%, acceptance rate, if you're going to do $1 tip on top of maybe, let's say, $3 worth of a minimum pay, so let's say $4, and you're trying to send us out 10 miles, and with a 10-mile return trip on 20-mile return trip, if you do get your food, it's probably going to get cold, because that order is going to sit there and recirculate until it finds somebody that's essentially a sucker to take it. So if you want your food nice and hot and ready, tip your DoorDasher the $5 or $10 or whatever, and your food will be there next second, because everybody's going to fight for that order. There's bing, yeah, I'll do that, bing.
But some dashers won't know if you're going to leave a tip or not. Yeah. You might say no tip, and then all of a sudden, if you're door dashing, all of a sudden you say, wait, that one DoorDash I missed, I could easily get a $50 tip. You really don't know.
Yeah, see, that's the other argument, is some people like to pay the cash tip for the service at the door. They figure they'll pay the restaurant the order, dasher comes to them, they'll tip them, depending on how the food gets there, blah, blah, blah. That's more like a restaurant, where you go down and you have a wait staff wait on you, and then you tip them for their service at the end of the day, and that's fine. But you might be shooting yourself in the foot because if you're leaving that $3 minimum out there for the dasher to try to come to you with, some dashers are going to decline that, and then your food is going to sit there at the counter in the restaurant and not get to you when it could have. It'll eventually still get to you because somebody's going to take it, but it might not be high priority. So if you want your food to show up half lukewarm, or cold, if you did a cold sub from Subway, then it don't matter. Then you can low ball tip all you want because it's not going to make a difference in that hour. But if you're trying to get like a hot steak, I wouldn't go with the cash tip at the end. I mean, some people appreciate it, but a lot of times the DoorDasher has to go. They can't run their business on. I hope that guy pays me cash at the door. Obviously, if they've been to your house before, they know you pay cash at the door. They're just going to accept it if they've seen it coming out of that area, going to wherever the same place.
But if DoorDashers keep refusing that order, pretty soon they're going to pretty much saying, you know what? All these DoorDashers are refusing order. We're going to force it off onto one of them and they can't refuse.
Well, and then if it's the same customer doing that every single time that's not getting his food all the time and lowballing the tips, then the DoorDash eventually kicks the customer off to you, though, because nobody is going to them. So it's a two-way street, but yeah, the ins and outs of DoorDash from all the videos that I've seen. I mean, I'm only just talking from the videos and the experience that I've got local here with the maybe 10,000 people here when we went DoorDashing with Travis twice now, 3 times?
I think 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, and the time frame here is better and worse at different times. It's a smaller market. There's only 5, 6 restaurants or something to deal with here. Rapid City's going to be up there in the 30 or 40 restaurants at least that are on DoorDash alone, if not more than that. And then plus you have all the different shopping options, gas stations, and etc.
And the reason why most businesses don't want to do it is because there's hidden fees.
Yeah, the DoorDash pays the fee for their service to hook it up with it.
And that's the reason why you see most prices a little bit higher, because the business wants to cover the fees to stay with them and stuff. Because I heard like a story, like one restaurant spends like $125 for the unit itself, and that's per month, and then like 5 to 10% on top of that for the profit of what they make.
Yeah. I mean, they're both businesses, one trying to work with another, but yeah, they both have to pay for their time. Somebody's got to pay the support employees on DoorDash and the tech support who do the app and everything. And it all costs money on DoorDash's part too. And then plus the lining people up and try, figure out which drivers to keep and which dashers not to keep. And then they will drop you if you go below that 80% acceptance rate. You risk, if you lose your customer rating and everything else, there's 3 different ratings. But if you lose those ratings, they can drop you off of the list and not have you dash anymore. Because it basically soils their reputation pretty much if they have a dasher that's not doing the minimums of what they want. And then the food shows up, half cold, or people that eat the food and so on. Yeah, if you're a dasher, don't go picking on somebody's food and eating their food and trying to get away with it. Don't unseal the bags. Just go out there and do your regular job. DoorDash pays you well enough to go out there and buy your own food.
Plus, if you tamper with the bags so much, they're going to drop you off and potentially might charge you with the crime.
Yeah, that's one of those things that DoorDash will immediately drop you with if they somehow or another they find camera evidence or whatever of you tampering the bag. You're done, and done for life, not just done.
And then you potentially will be banned from other platforms.
Yeah, so it's not worth the risk because the DoorDash and Uber Eats especially they share dashers one thing, but they share information with each other.
Or other companies that start up, or it could be ABC.
And they all, as even though you're an independent contractor, they all still do take your driver's license down because they have to for their own insurance wise, because they're employing you to drive the food around, so they are technically carrying insurance on you and the food. If something happens, but
the insurance is only based off the food and stuff.
Yeah, but being that they took down your driver's license, they know who you are, so there's no way you're going to be able to reapply down the line and try to change your name or something. They used to, for Uber and Lyft, for the driving thing, they used to be able to try to do that, but they've worked out all the bugs now to where you can't switch your stuff around and go back to driving for Uber and Lyft again. I am considering down the line couple years from now, if I'm living in an apartment and stuff like that, and I have everything settled there in Rapid City, I'm considering signing up for that Uber lease program thing for the car, where they get you the car, and then you pay 5 or 6 years worth of the lease driving around for Uber, and you can use it for Lyft. But Uber has this lease program with pretty good discounts on the lease. I just don't want to go into debt at the moment. But if I settle down in Rapid City and then decide that's the place I want to stay at, then I might take on the lease and do Uber driving, because it pays really good money, and all you gotta do is drive people around.
And plus, if he wants to do like Uber Eats and stuff, he can also piggyback on that too.
But yeah, for right now with my older Geo and stuff like that, obviously I wouldn't qualify to drive people around anyway. But I don't want to in something like that anyway. But I can drive their food around, no problem. My mom's gonna bring me a milk crate to put that into, and then of course DoorDash supplies you with the hot bag. And then there's the pizza bag and a catering bag that I'm gonna buy later on, and the cup holders and stuff like that as I go.
And you don't have to use their bags and stuff. You can use
Yeah. The only proof that you need is to be able to flip your DoorDash app and show them that you have the customer's name right there at the restaurant. That's all they need. They don't need the name tag. They don't need all the proofs of the bag. It just makes it easier, because we walk in the door and you have that stuff. They know you're a Dasher, and you're there for that purpose. But all you have to do is show them the app.
Plus, if you're doing like pizzas and stuff, they want you to show the pizza bag. It doesn't have to have their name. You can show them the pizza that's in the bag and say, there you go.
Yeah, because it's both the DoorDash's reputation and that restaurant's reputation for delivering hot food. So you want to be a pizza delivery guy, you got to have a pizza bag. But I think so far that's the in and outs of door dashing, and next week, like I say, I'll make a video on the details of it once I get into it. And that's what I know. I'm pretty positive that I can survive in Rapid City's market doing it.
And you might expect maybe 2 more views that's going to come out.
Yeah.
Like, our plans are going to go be ins and out of expediting or transportation.
Yeah, we'll get them scheduled after this video, and so this video will probably come out a couple days after I'm already doing door dashing, the way the schedule is going.
We're going to try to break them out so it'll be a week apart.
Yeah.
Today's date on this video, so people will know later on, was 7/14 of 2023.
It probably won't come out to it.
So it might be towards the end of the month by this video when this comes out.
Yeah. Because just for simplicity, we'd like to get the schedule to fill the videos ahead. That way we can be working on a video before the next video comes out.
Then later on, when he does door dashing, he's going to post a video a week apart, so it's going to be an interview. So virtually he's getting a week ahead.
Yeah, and I'm going to try to do another simple video to door dashing, just showing you the profits, what I make each hour, how many trips I had to do, what the miles was, and stuff like that, for the details of it for people that want to go into dashing, so they have an idea of what it takes every hour. At least in Rapid City's market. Each market's different.
And then he's going to show you probably weekly or bi-weekly or monthly, so to tell you, hey, it's not always the same.
Yeah. The slow times or the faster times and so on.
So like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. And the merch store might be coming soon.
Exactly.